Wiener, as defined by Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Number 1, Frankfurter or hot dog. Number 2, penis. Number 3, an awkward, weak, or ineffectual person. For example, now the little wiener makes himself out to be a hero. Now, number 3 is the use of the word that I will be referring to in today's video. So number 1 on the wiener scale, we're using a 1 through 10 scale here, 1 being least wiener, 10 being most wiener, is obviously going to be the riot shield. The riot shield rates a 11 actually out of 10 on the 1 through 10 scale. It is the most wiener thing I've ever seen. You know, if you use the riot shield, you're basically just too scared to get in gunfights. You don't want to, use any skill or effort in the game. You're just hiding behind your shield that you can take everywhere with you. Even when you're running, the shield goes on your back. People can't shoot you from behind. They did a study. People that play with the riot shield, they're usually so scared that they poop their pants. They're running around the entire match with poopy in their little diapers, and they're just stinking up the whole game for everyone. They're just ruining the game. Second most wiener weapon, I would say, is the combat knife. Although it is a very high risk, high reward weapon because you can die very easily from it, I still think it's very wienery. Maybe a bit more weasel than wiener, but I would still give it a, let's say, a 7 out of 10 on the wiener scale. Doesn't take much skill to use. If a UAV is up, it's very easy to just crouch behind a door or a corner and wait for people. You basically just run around with an idiot with it. There's not much of a skill gap. If you're maining this the entire game, it's very, very annoying. You're kind of just making the game worse. Number 3 could maybe be the launchers, although I think they're more intended to get rid of kill streaks that are up in the air, which they're very good for that. If you're using it like a main weapon and sort of camping with it, it's pretty wienery. So, but it's more how you use the weapon that makes it wiener. So we'll just give the launchers a 3 out of 10 on the wiener scale. These other normal weapons are really that wienery at all. They don't even register on the wiener scale. You might be thinking, hey, Snipey, haha, what about shotguns or sniper rifles or LMGs? No, they're not wienery at all. It's how you play with them that makes them wiener. But the weapons in themselves are not wiener. Now we have to get into things like the tacticals, lethals, and field upgrades also, because there are some very wienery things in these categories. So let's get into the gadgets here. Now, I know that I said the riot shield was the number 1 wiener weapon, but I actually lied. The flash grenade actually ranks a 12 out of 10 on the wiener scale. Everyone knows it's the most overpowered weapon in the entire game. Basically, you're getting free kills. You're making the game worse for everyone by using this weapon. It is so overpowered. I mean, you can be around the corner from the flashbang when it goes off, not looking at it, behind a building, and it still makes your screen go completely white for the same amount of time. I believe the amount of time that it makes your screen go white for is about half the length of an average match. That's 5 minutes or something like that. Basically, you're using this, you're just getting free kills. You're just using the most overpowered, least amount of skill weapon in the entire game. You're making the game worse for everyone. It is by far the most annoying weapon to die from in the entire game. And when you're using this, you're just, you're avoiding fair gunfights, and you're just, why would you want to fight a blind person? I mean, what kind of person would go and fight a blind person with a gun? Come on. And then we have, I don't know how I know there's some weird gadgets and trinkets in here. I don't really exactly know how they work. Spotter scope, that sounds a bit wiener. I'm not really sure. The heartbeat sensor, I think this is more of a Warzone weapon. I don't play Warzone, but I know that people in Warzone, the type of people that sit in a closet the whole match and never move, I think they use the heartbeat sensor. So I don't know, let's give it a 6 out of 10 on the wiener scale. Let's give it a 6 out of 10 on the wiener scale. I don't know if you can use that aggressively or not. I don't never really use it. I'm not sure. I don't know what these other weapons do. Probably not wienery at all. Let's get into the lethals. So on average, stuff that takes no skill to use and gives you free kills is pretty high on the wiener scale. Proximity mine And the Claymore. The proximity mine, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10 on the wiener scale. Claymore, let's give that a 10 out of 10. Very wienery. That's a camper's weapon. You know, you stick it behind closed doors. It's just really very wiener. Very scared little baby tactic style to use these weapons. Very annoying to die to. The tear gas. Okay, this thing is super wienery. I mean, it just makes a big cloud of stinky ass that people, you can't even go into it. It's like you're too afraid to get in gunfights, so you just keep people away from you. The maps on this game are already shitty enough. There's really no reason to fart all over the maps and make them stink even worse than they already are. We're going to give this 9 out of 10 on the wiener scale. Let's go 9.5 out of 10, actually. And let's get into the field upgrades. Deployable cover, 8 out of 10 on the wiener scale. Very similar to the riot shield, but not nearly as bad. And let's see, suppression mine. These things are sound wave. These don't kill people. These are just annoying, but let's give these a 6 out of 10. They are pretty annoying. Smoke airdrop. That's not actually wiener in itself, but it's how you use it. It's not really wiener if you're just using it normally playing an objective, but if you use a smoke drop or smoke grenades, you're playing with a thermal scope. You're using a sniper or LMG makes it even worse. The farther back you are from the smoke, just camping, it makes it even worse. We all ran into this problem playing Cold War. You know, people would just sit in a window, drop smoke the entire game, and use an infrared scope. That is probably an 11 out of 10 on the wiener scale with that playstyle. But the smoke in itself is not wienery. So you can be using it to play objectives. You can be running through the smoke. So it's not actually a wiener weapon. The inflatable decoy. I don't even know what this thing is, really. I don't know. Maybe it's useful in Warzone. In 6v6, it just feels like a joke. I think people are just using it because they think it's funny. I think when the devs put this in the game, they were just trolling. Maybe they're making fun of Battlefield, because I know this is in the Battlefield games. I don't even know what the hell that thing is, why it's even in the game. But I said that none of these different weapon types are actually wiener, and that's true. But the way that you play with them can make you an absolute little wiener. So pretty much, you know, if you're sitting there aiming down sights and you're not moving for more than 7 seconds, then you start to register on the wiener scale. And for each second, it moves up another point on the wiener scale. So if you're sitting there aiming down sights, you're not moving, you're not taking your aim out of the sights, you're just sitting there like that. Once you get over 7 seconds, it registers on the wiener scale. For each second, another point on the wiener scale. So if you're doing that for 11 seconds straight, you're an 11 out of 10 on the wiener scale. And it gets worse when you do these different things. So if you are crouching while you're doing it, then you have to times it by each second by 1.2 instead of 1. If you're mounted while you're doing it, you times each second by 1.5. So if you're sitting there for 10 seconds and you're mounted, that's actually a 15 on the wiener scale right there. And if you're doing it while lying prone, that is the worst wiener out of everything. Then you actually have to times it by 5. So if you're sitting there for 11 seconds prone, you're not moving at all, not unscoping, just sitting down your sights, that is actually ranks a 55 on the 1 to 10 wiener scale. And if you're the farther away from the action you are, the worse it is. After you get, I'd say 30 meters back, you have to times it by another 1 for each meter you're away. And if you're up in like a little window or something like that, you have to times it by another 1. So you just, you know, I'm not very good at math, but I think if you're doing, say you're 100 meters back from the action, you're lying prone, you're, you know, say you're up on a rooftop of a building, you're maybe 200 meters away from the action. Out of the 1 through 10 wiener scale, you're actually ranking 11,900,562.9 on the wiener scale. I don't want to be a wiener. and you want to help save Call of Duty, we know that they designed this game to promote strong wienerism and wiener-like playstyles, but seriously, there's really no need to use any of these wiener weapons or these wiener playstyles. Man up and just play the game like a real person. Have fun. Please just, stop ruining the game like a scared little wiener baby. They actually did studies. People who use these weapons and use these play styles, most of them are actually holding their mommy's hand while they're playing. They can't play without holding their mommy's hand, or their mommy stroking them and saying they're a good boy, and patting their back when they're dying and help them not get angry. So just please, don't use any of these weapons or play like this.